Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In this episode, we talk about how warnings about the crisis in Joshimath were ignored for over 45 years. We also talk about why opposition parties in Bengal are criticizing the decision to add chicken and fruits to midday meals. But first, we talk about Chhattisgarh. Last week, in the Narayanpur district of Chhattisgarh, a mob of about 50 people vandalized a church and even ended up injuring at least 7 policemen. This mob also included a BJP leader who, along with 10 others, have now been arrested by the local police. When we spoke to Indian Express's Jayprakash Naidu, he told us that this incident was actually a result of the ongoing tensions between two tribal communities in the area. One that is now leaning towards Christianity and the other that doesn't want them to. In this segment, Jayprakash joins us on a call from Raipur to tell us more about it. Jayprakash, could you begin by talking about what exactly happened during the incident?
Yeah, so the incident took place on 2nd of January. It was around 1 p.m. when there was a meeting over there of tribal people. About 2,000 people had gathered in a ground in Narayanpur city. So something happened in the meeting and a mob of around 300 people from that group, they marched towards a church which is about a kilometer away from the ground, and they entered the church, they vandalized the church. They also assaulted a couple of teachers over there, and when the police went there to stop them, they assaulted some 6 to 7 policemen. Like one of the tribals hit the superintendent of police, Sadhan Kumar, on his head with an iron rod, and the SP suffered 5 stitches on his head. Then another officer, he was literally slammed on the ground by one of the tribals. So, and then they vandalized the entire church, the chairs, the statue of Jesus, the statue of Mother Mary outside, and there's a school right behind the church. And they also vandalized one window pane of a nursery classroom. And at that time, the teachers, they stopped the vandals. They were like, this is the school, this is not the church. At that time, the vandals backed out. And also the police reinforcements were brought over there, and who somehow, used mild lathi charge to disperse the crowd.
And so now, what do we know about why this mob decided to vandalize this church?
So what happened is, this incident took place on January 2. On January 1, there was another attack in a village called Gurra, which is a few kilometers away from Narayanpur city. So in that village, a mob of tribals who are leaning towards Christianity attacked the other tribal group. And then the other tribal group, which is the majority tribal group in the district, they decided to take revenge. They decided to call for a meeting to unite all the tribals from Narayanpur district and take sort of revenge. But this is something I think got overlooked by the district administration. Also, a point which is pertinent over here is one of the tribal leaders, his name is Rupsai Salam. He is not only a tribal leader, but he is also the district chief for the Bharatiya Janata Party. And he was the one who sought the permission, and he had promised the district collector as well as the superintendent of police that there will be no violence. But it turned to be violent, and a faction of say 300 people out of the 2,000 people, they marched towards the church, and some 50 to 100 of them, they entered the church premises and they vandalized everything over there.
And Jayprakash, what is the reason behind the tension between these two tribal communities, and tensions so big that they are leading to these violent situations?
Yes, so the basic issue over here is the tribal people who are leaning towards Christianity has seen an increase after 2012. Also, there are many people who have leaned towards Christianity after 2017 and 2018. And the villagers, they don't like this, because now these people who have leaned towards Christianity are not following the tribal culture. They are offering prayers, they are making their own prayer halls in their homes, they are going to church. So because of all this, what is happening is they are giving up on the tribal culture. That is the allegation the tribals are making, and they don't like it, yeah.
And what do people who are leaning towards Christianity have to say about this?
So they are basically saying that, it's our right. We are not troubling anybody. We want to follow Christianity. We want to believe in Jesus. It's our right to do so. So why are we being harassed? That's what their stand is.
Right, and you have reported that this group that is leaning towards Christianity has faced problems in the past as well. So talk a bit about that.
Yes, so a lot of trouble began in October when these villages started taking meetings with these tribals who are leading towards Christianity, and they were given an ultimatum: either you give up on Christianity or you leave the village. Then after the meeting, assault started. Some villagers started assaulting. Some villagers started, stealing their belongings. Then yes, of course, there are a couple of incidents which, were very troublesome. Like there was one incident where a woman died of cancer. Now her family was leaning towards Christianity. The villagers were not allowing her husband to bury her body in the village. So the husband, even he was adamant. He said that no, I will bury my wife's body over here. If you want to do it by tribal culture, you do it by tribal culture, but I will not give up on Christianity. So because of this conflict between the person and the villagers, the person kept his wife's body outside his home for 3 days. And after that, finally, they decided that the body will be buried in Narayanpur city, where there is a common cemetery. So apart from this, such tensions kept increasing, and the villagers in some places, got threatened and left by themselves. Some were asked to leave. So this way, around 500 people had gathered outside the collector's office in Narayanpur city in December, after which they were made to stay in an indoor stadium in the Narayanpur city. So about 500 of them were staying there in the indoor stadium. Out of this 500, the administration somehow had talks with the villagers, convinced them to take them back, and about 375 of them were sent back, and about 125 of them continue to live over there in Narayanpur city in the indoor stadium. These are some 31 families, come from 4 different gram panchayats.
Okay, so these people have essentially been ostracized for practicing a religion of their choice. But has the administration tried to help the people who are still living at the stadium?
So the collector, Ajit Vasant, he told me that they were planning to send back these families, but then the violence happened on January 1 and January 2, and they could not send these families back, and it will take another 4-5 days to send them back. And before they do that, they will be going to these villages, convincing them, telling them that you cannot get violent with these people, otherwise strict action will be taken. So it is a very difficult task now before the district collector, because I also visited that village Bhatpal and another village Boravan, from where maximum families are staying in the indoor stadium. So the kind of experience I had, I could see aggression, and I also conveyed this to the collector that in case you send them back, you will have to be very sure, otherwise these people will again face attack. So the collector was telling me that they are going to take a lot of care, and they will be having a lot of talks with the villagers, the village heads. They've already convened a meeting with all the village heads from 68 villages. And especially for this 125 families, before sending them back, the collector will again have talks with the village leaders and try to convince them that you cannot fight or show any kind of violence or threat towards these families. You have to do it through dialogue, non-violence.
Okay, Jayprakash, but tell us, what problem do they have with these people following Christianity? Why do they care about what their personal beliefs are?
See, there are two things over here, and again, this is something that a senior district administration official told me. So what is happening is that the village leaders, their authority is decreasing day by day. Villagers will not take them much seriously. And now with this whole Christianity coming in, and these Christian people not following the tribal culture at all, they are following their own things which Christian people do, like, having a prayer hall, going to church, and having their own set of cultures, not participating in other culture which is going on for a lot of years. So these all things are also undermining the village leaders. Say for example, there's a person called Gaita. Now Gaita is, you can say, somewhat like a priest in other religions. So this Gaita is the person who will be there at the funeral. No funeral can take place without him. No auspicious thing like, if you have produced rice, you've produced some other lentils. So without the Gaita's permission, you cannot sell it. Then if, say for example, if you're going to dig a well, the Gaita has to be there to do the rituals, after only which you can start digging the well. Or so for any little, you can say, occasion, the Gaita is always present. So now with this Christian culture coming in, they will not want Gaita to be there for everything, right? And then there are a lot of cultural things which they are not following. And these are also superstitious things. So for example, when I went to the Boravan village, I asked them, what is the problem? The same thing that you asked me, I asked them. So he was like, when women are pregnant, they are not supposed to touch the tap. They are not supposed to use the bore well. But these women who are leaning towards Christianity, they don't believe in these things, which is a very big issue for us. It can bring bad omen on us. So these are all superstitious things, but these are being followed in the tribal culture. So this is something that, this people leaning towards Christianity will not follow. So this is in a way undermining the leaders as well, undermining the tribal culture as well. So this is what the issue is right now.
And next we talk about Joshimath, a small town in Uttarakhand which is an important transit point for people visiting popular Hindu pilgrimages like Badrinath. The town has been in the news because right now it appears to be sinking. Last week, large cracks appeared on roads and over 500 houses in the area. In a previous episode, we talked about how such cracks have appeared in the past as well. But this time, they're much larger. And all this is happening because the area is prone to earthquakes, built on very loose soil, and on top of that, has seen a lot of unplanned construction over the years. Right now, people in the area are being evacuated, and the government is assessing what needs to be done. But it turns out that back in the 70s, a government-appointed committee had made extensive recommendations regarding Joshimath. But those recommendations have remained ignored all these years. In this segment, Indian Express's Avaneesh Mishra, who accessed the report and the recommendations, joins us on a call from Joshimath to talk about it. So Avaneesh, tell us about this committee and what was the reason that it was formed?
This was an 18-member committee and it was established under the chairmanship of then Commissioner of Garhwal region, Mahesh Chand Mishra. And the main objectives of the committee was to find the cause of landslides and sinking of Joshimath. And the committee was also asked to give suggestions on short-term remedial measures and long-term remedial measures after conducting a detailed study. And the last thing the committee was asked to do is to find out the financial implications to implement both the short-term and long-term measures in the area.
And what were the kind of things that they observed and later suggested for Joshimath?
One of the most important things is that the report observed that the area is geologically unstable, and that is why it is resulting in landslides, road breaches and localized land subsidence. And it also pointed out that the increase in construction activity and population, there has been significant biotic disturbance. The report also drew attention to the indiscriminate felling of trees, because it said that, as we all know, trees are important. It acts as the mechanical barriers to rain. It increases water conservation capacity and hold the loose debris mass. The report also pointed out that this whole town of Joshimath is situated on a deposit of sand and stone and it is not suitable for a township. It kind of said that the vibrations caused by blasting and heavy traffic will also lead to disequilibrium in natural factors. Another most important thing the report discussed was the lack of proper drainage facilities, which accounts for landslide. It said that the soaking pits which exist are responsible for creating cavities between soil and boulder. So yeah, there were a lot of things, and based on these things, there were some suggestions made in the report. The most important thing was the restriction on heavy construction work and avoid agriculture on slopes, along with regulating the cutting of trees and stopping the seepage of open rainwater. And the suggestion was construction of pakka drainage and sewerage so that whenever there is a rain, the rainwater does not seep inside the land and there is a pakka structure so that the water comes down and it kind of passes through the town of Joshimath. There were other suggestions also, like there was suggestion of remedial measures like no construction work should be done before examining the load-bearing capacity of the soil. And in order to prevent landslides in the future, there was a suggestion to stop the seepage of open rainwater, as I mentioned, and construction of a pakka drain system was a vital necessity.
Right, and again, it's important to note that these suggestions were made more than 45 years ago. But what happened after these suggestions were made? Did anyone pay any heed to them?
Yeah, given the current situation, we can easily assume that those suggestions were not implemented. It's been almost 46 to 50 years and none of those suggestions saw the light of the day. And earlier on Friday, which was around 3 days after several houses in Joshimath developed bigger cracks, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami directed the concerned authorities to work on the immediate action plan. and ensure that the work on the treatment of danger zones, sewer and drainage should be completed before the monsoons. But I don't think that is going to be possible because, as I told you, rain is expected from tomorrow, and from Friday, snow is expected in the area. And another important thing which the locals are worried about is that generally, there is rain and snow with the start of the new year. There are already rains and snow, and so far there has been no rain in the area for last few months. So the entire amount of debris which is in Oli will come down along with the rain. So that might kind of worsen the situation further. So, but yeah, unfortunately, none of the suggestions were implemented. There were still cutting of trees. There were heavy construction work going on. There were NTPC plants working in the area. And as of now, this entire area of Joshimath, which is spread across 2.5 square kilometers, it has around 3,900 houses and 400 commercial buildings. So, yeah, I mean, the government and administration was late in doing something to save Joshimath, and the result is in front of us now.
You mentioned NTPC, that is the National Thermal Power Corporation. Now, that has sparked a lot of controversy right now. People are asking questions about how it was allowed to do projects in the area. So could you talk a bit about that and how the controversy is playing out politically?
As far as NTPC is concerned, the locals have been making a lot of allegations against NTPC, and they are saying that this entire thing, what is happening in the town of Joshimath, is the fault of NTPC and the tunnels they are trying to dig inside the ground and the base. So far, the NTPC has denied the claims, and they also have received some support from the government and the administration, who are kind of asking the people and the media to wait for the scientific reports, and only then they can make a statement on this. As far as the politics around this entire thing is concerned, both the Congress and the BJP have been blaming each other for failing to implement the recommendations of the committee. Earlier, I was talking to Congress State President Karan Mahara, and he accused the BJP of not doing anything to save Joshimath, even when there were clear signs of a brewing disaster. I also talked to BJP State President and former MLA from the local Badrinath seat, and he accused the Congress party of not doing anything either when they were in the government. So yeah, both the parties have been blaming each other for this, but we cannot deny the fact that none of these parties implemented the suggestions which have been given to them continuously in the last 5 decades.
And Avneesh, you've been reporting from Joshimath for the past few days. Could you talk about how people there have been adjusting to these recent developments?
When I came here, I tried to visit some of the houses which have developed cracks, and while some of the houses were vacated by those living there, in some of the houses people were still living because they were kind of worried that they have their things over there. How can they shift everything from their house to any other place? It might be a hotel or something. But now, when the situation is kind of getting worse, and there is a possibility that several structures might collapse when there is rain in the area, which is expected from Wednesday, and snow is expected from Friday. So yeah, now people are kind of leaving, and most of the danger zone areas have been vacated by the administration.
And how are they feeling about being evacuated from their own homes? I mean, one can't imagine that being easy.
This is something which obviously people do not want. I mean, they spend their entire life saving on building houses, and some of these people have been living here for generations. So definitely it is not easy for them, but they also understand that they do not have any other option.
And in the end, we talk about the midday meal scheme, under which every child enrolled in a government or government-aided school gets a cooked meal. Last week, the West Bengal government decided that chicken and seasonal fruits will be part of the midday meal menu in the state. Now, including non-vegetarian food items like eggs in midday meals has seen strong opposition in several states across the country. And here as well, the ruling Trinamool Congress has attracted a lot of criticism from all opposition parties in the state, the BJP, the Congress, and even the CPIM. But in this case, for an entirely different reason. Indian Express's Santanu Chowdhury joins us on a call from Kolkata to explain why. Shantanu, begin by talking about the changes that have been made to the state's midday meal.
On January 3, the West Bengal government issued a notification announcing that it will add chicken and seasonal fruits in the new menu for the midday meals. Now, the existing midday meal consisted rice, potato, vegetables, pulses, and soybean. Now, the state government is thinking to give a better nutrition to the students of the state-run schools. They have added chicken and the fruits. Now, the government has made it once a week affair, so that students will get chicken only once a week. So that is the plan of the state government, and this has been added as part of the PM Poshan initiative, which is a part of the midday meal scheme, and therefore this will be served to the students from January to April.
And Shantanu, what is the reason that the midday meals will include chicken and fruits only for this limited period from January to April?
Yeah, we had a talk with the Education Minister, Bratto Boshu. He told us that, it is the paucity of the funds which has, restricted this initiative only from January to April. If they had more fund, they would have, make it in a year-long affair. So the state government at present has allocated 372 crore for this, project to include this chicken and fruits in the midday meal menu. And categorically, it was also mentioned that this is a fund totally given by the state government. Usually what we see in the midday meal scheme, it's a 60-40 ratio, 60 from the center and 40 from the state. But this time, this additional 372 crore is coming from the state government. So it was clearly mentioned that, this additional nutrients, this chicken and fruit, will be served entirely by the state government.
Right, and after it was announced, the opposition parties across the board raised issues regarding it. Could you talk about why that happened?
Yeah, all the criticism so far what we have received, the political parties in West Bengal are not against this move, because here this veg and non-veg divide does not exist, at least in the school level, where the student gets food from this midday meal scheme. But they have questioned the timing of this initiative. Like everyone knows that its Panchayat polls will be held in the month of April or May. Notification hasn't been issued yet, but that's what we have got from the State Election Commission. Now, this all of a sudden, this addition of chicken and fruit in the existing midday meal menu has raised eyebrows. They are questioning the intent of the state government, whether they want to use this to, get the support of the people in the rural areas, or they are saying that, they want to win over the trust of the people who are somehow disgruntled over the ruling party because of the multiple corruption charges. So the BJP has said that, as the state government is in a bad position or is in a spot, that's why they are trying to, divert the people's attention from the real issues. And by introducing chicken and fruits in the midday meal menu will definitely, make the parents of the children happy, because they would feel that, okay, my son or daughter will get chicken now in the school. This is one part of the criticism. And the CPM, on the other hand, has said that they are categorically not against this move. They are fundamentally not against this move, but they are questioning the timing as well, but whether this will be corruption free as well, because they have questioned that every move from the state government, it somehow, has given birth to one corruption to another. While it comes to the implementation of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, to implementation of other schemes or central government schemes, there has been charges of allegations against the ruling party leaders. So they are apprehensive whether this scheme will also get the same kind of response. The Congress too has also, raised questions mainly on the timing of this initiative.
And has the state government responded to these allegations that this has supposedly been done keeping the upcoming elections in mind and that there would be corruption involved?
TMC has, did not extensively address this issue, but they have said that, the opposition has no other work than to, take a dig at the ruling party or the state government for whatever they are doing, from criticizing its government at your doorstep campaign to Lakshmi Vandar scheme. This is now another addition to their list of the issues which they talk about against the government. And now the education minister also said that, the government intent is not wrong. I mean, they intend to, give the best of the things to the students studying in state-run schools. So they have always planned for such things, but it is the lack of funds or the support from the center which had, stopped them from, implementing such kind of projects. And another thing that the TMC Rajya Sabha MP Santanu Sen said that, they asked the BJP to look at the states where they have a government, like in Uttar Pradesh and other states, where before the election, the prices of petrol and diesel were kept low. And once the election was over, they were increased. But he felt that, we don't believe in such kind of politics. And if this scheme has been introduced for the January to April, chances are high that it will be continued the entire year. But the opposition are not going to take this lightly because they feel that, this is purely done in view of this upcoming panchayat polls. Because panchayat polls, it's mostly the rural polls. A large number of population will, cast their vote or exercise their franchisee. So any addition in the midday meal menu or any kind of additional social welfare benefits will likely to, help the ruling party here. So that's why the BJP, CPM or the Congress is questioning the timing of this scheme rather than what is being served in the menu.
And Shantanu, non-veg has always been a controversial topic in midday meals. Karnataka has seen stiff opposition when it comes to including eggs, for example. Madhya Pradesh stopped providing eggs under the scheme after the BJP came to power in 2020. So could you talk about what does this inclusion of chicken mean politically?
Well, politically, because West Bengal is one of the few states where it still allows the consumption of beef. There is no such divide called, if they add non-veg items in the midday meal menu, there won't be any hue and cry from the section of the parents or other groups or outfits. So in that way, this in West Bengal, this addition of chicken will not create such an uproar like what we see in other BJP ruled states, because you have to keep in mind that egg was being served in the midday meal menu from the very beginning. There wasn't any issue with the inclusion of egg in the midday meal menu, and this inclusion of chicken, there hasn't been any kind of issue except from the political reactions. So in that case, that this addition of chicken, people will definitely be happy, because in rural areas where people can't afford to provide a good meal, 2 square meal per day to the school children, if they get 1 square meal a week in the school, that will definitely help them, help the children, and that will definitely go for the state government. But the opposition is not exactly criticizing this move per se, but they are just questioning the timing of the state government, because this non-veg and veg divide is clearly not in West Bengal.
You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava, and was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.